The law of attraction is only going to be useful to you if it does two things. First, it has to work, and it has to work every time. And secondly, it has to come up with the goods when you can't see a way out or you don't know what to do. If it can't be relied upon to deliver what you want, and it isn't any help when you're stuck, then it's about as useful as a chocolate teapot. Are we on the same page? Great. Then keep watching, because I'm about to reveal to you what I discovered that makes creating your own reality as reliable as a sunny day on a Florida beach. When I first came across the law of attraction, my life was in a mess. I was a mess. A disastrous marriage had recently ended. I was broke, and my new girlfriend dumped me. On top of all that, I had a mortgage I couldn't afford on my own, so I expected to be homeless within a few months. I could see no way out. So when a new book found me, let's put it that way, that said we create our reality with our thoughts and beliefs, I grabbed it more tightly than a drowning man grabs a lifeline. That was over 30 years ago, and I'm delighted and relieved to say that things have turned out very well for me, a prospect that was unthinkable back then. These days, because my life is now joyous and has been so for many years, I can look with a clearer perspective at the law of attraction. What do we really want from it? Why is it such a compelling idea? Our deepest fears include not only the so-called unknown, but also of not living our best life. We also want to feel sure that we measure up. We want to make the right choices in life. Sure, we can learn from our mistakes, but wouldn't we prefer not to make mistakes in the first place? Yes, we want the law of attraction to give us stuff, but only when we're desperate. Let's face it, nobody who has a few billion in the bank goes cap in hand to the universe for extra money. In other words, we don't seek answers until we have questions. If I could boil it down to a few words, I think what we want is control over our destiny. We want to live happy, fulfilled, successful in love and business, and free to make our own choices without worrying about the cost. And whilst everybody's version of what success and freedom would look like is different, it's mostly when those dreams are under threat or just not showing up at all that we turn to the law of attraction. If you agree with me so far, stick with me for a couple more minutes, because I'm about to hit you with what was, for me at least, an enormous light bulb moment. So maybe it will be for you too. If the law of attraction could deliver love, money, big houses and swanky cars like a kind of cosmic Amazon.com, there'd be no problem. All we'd have to do would be to figure out how to complete the order form properly, which seems to involve some visualization, positive thinking, affirmations, and so on. And so long as we dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, we'd get everything we wanted on time, every time, pretty much. But as anyone who's ever tried any version of cosmic ordering will testify, it just isn't reliable like that. Sometimes it sort of works, although what you end up with isn't quite as you imagined it, and quite often it seems to not work at all. This frustrated and confused me for years. I mean, like a couple of decades. I kept chipping away at it, like an archaeologist who knows that if they clear away just one more millimetre of dirt, some real treasure will reveal itself. Eventually, I was rewarded. There was no big celebration. I hadn't discovered Tutankhamun's tomb. My revelation dawned more gradually than that. And that's because, at first, I didn't notice it working. But what I was doing worked every time. Always did, always does, always will. Okay, so before I tell you what that light bulb moment was, let's circle back to what it is we want from life. We want the things we dream of to come to us easily and without struggle, pain, or difficulty, if possible. And we want to know that when we put in some kind of request or order for something, let's say it's a house, it will be delivered. We want the system of ordering to be simple and reliable. Or to put it another way, we want certainty. The real Amazon.com, or indeed any real-world business, relies on one thing more than any other to stay in business, and that's the trust of its customers. If their service becomes unreliable or shaky or, heaven forbid, shady in any way, it's game over for them. And that's what I wanted from the universe. If there's any kind of cosmic ordering system, it has to be that reliable. I have to trust it 100%, or I simply won't do business with it anymore. So, what was that light bulb moment? Well, it was that whenever my life had got tough, and without going into detail here, I'm thinking of times when loneliness literally brought me to weeping on my knees. Times when debt frightened and embarrassed me to the point that I was sure I'd become homeless. Times when my self-esteem was on the floor, heartbreaks more than I care to count, some very painful times. But even long before I ever heard of the idea of the law of attraction, when I looked back on any of those times and how I'd come through them, I had always been shown a way. Sometimes it was a knock at my door. On at least 2 occasions I can think of, it was a dream. Sometimes it was a new person, friend, colleague, or occasionally lover, who would somehow step in, make some incredible difference, and step out again. More than once, it's been a book. But it might be a movie, a chance remark, seeing a postcard in a shop window. A light would be shone. Something would guide me. Loneliness has transformed into great and lasting love. I never lost my home. Debt somehow got handled and money flows easily these days. And so on. And when that light bulb lit up, I began to understand how to look for these guiding lights. I say look, but actually listen or even feel for them might be more accurate. You learn to have an antenna for them. As one of my favourite teachers, Michael Neal, puts it, I know what to do when I don't know what to do. Knowing this means I know there is always a way, always an answer. I will never be lost again. It is 100% trustworthy, and to quote Michael Neal a second time, about 99% unpredictable. But that's part of the fun. It makes life an adventure. It means never taking a wrong turn. It means you have certainty in a life whose landscape is ever-changing and where the future is, as it should be, unknown and unforeseeable. This is my non-woo-woo version of the law of attraction. I teach empowerment. I show you how to have certainty even though you don't know what's going to happen. I've kept the bathwater and got a new baby. I'm not sure that metaphor really works, but you see what I mean. The outcomes are the same. It's what we wanted the law of attraction to do, minus all the hocus-pocus required to get us there. If you like the sound of this way of looking at creating your own reality, then I recommend a good place to start is with my free ebook, Let's Manifest a Ferrari. I'll put a link at the top of the description below this video. If my way of thinking doesn't resonate with you, that's cool. Nobody is everyone's cup of tea. Please leave your comments and questions below this video. I do try to read and respond to all of them. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you very soon in another video.